Hello everyone and welcome to a review, my first review of an Epic 7 character. This is something that I would like to make more of a regular thing with kind of shifting priorities away from FFBE, just because the longer I go doing FFBE, the more just kind of tired I've been. So while I still kind of enjoy doing that because a lot of my player base is, I figured that I just haven't been making enough Epic 7 content recently, and the question of how to do that, besides the fact that I'm just untwisting my PS4 controller, is to do Epic 7 character reviews. So today we're going to start with the newest character to come to Epic 7, Lilibet. And with that being said, for everyone, I'm sorry, but I've just gone FF14 crazy. There's nothing that I can really do about it. And enjoy the song that is driving me crazy right now as it's stuck in my head. But anyway, when it comes to Lilibet, Lilibet is a character that I think a lot of people were eagerly anticipating, because ever since we kind of heard about some of the balance changes, well, some of the revived Moonlight characters have been a tad scary in Arena. Arena being just something that is dominated, what it feels like, by three major things. One, Dizzy, a character who provides a lot of debuffs, and eternal debuffs, potentially. Moonlight Ball and Cezanne, and Moonlight Araminta, who is a annoying combination. And Arbiter Vildred, a character who revives himself, as well as Rule and who else? Oh yeah, Moonlight Chloe. Point is that revived characters have been a really annoying part of Arena for a lot of characters, because you kill them, they come back, and they can keep bringing stuff back depending on whether you are powerful or not. So top level Arena has been waiting for something to come along and really shake things up, and this was kind of the thing that was advertised. Lilibet is a character who is basically the revive killer. So coming into, just her being released, I was really excited too. The dream was that she was just going to be a connection-based character, so we could all end up getting her, but that was not to be said, because this is a gacha game after all. But taking a look at Lilibet, now that she has come out, I would say that she has fallen more on the side of underwhelming rather than overwhelming. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why, but particularly I would say getting right into it is her Soul Cutter. Slashes the enemy with Cho and Mal, her two scissor blades, a la Kill la Kill, which, by the way, I think that demo's out for the fighting game. Damn this song. Anyway, inflicting extinction when the enemy is defeated. Now, what's interesting here is this is not a debuff. I think a lot of people were expecting it to be a debuff. It's not. It is just a effect. So in other words, it does not matter about effect resistance at all, which is great news, because that would have made her kind of even worse than she already is. Here, looking at Soul Cutter, basically when it hits and kills an enemy, like a Arbiter Vildred, he will not revive. He will not revive at all. He will stay dead, and that's kind of what you want. But it is a single target attack, and looking at its bonuses, on a 4-turn cooldown, this isn't exactly super spammable, and that is with the injection of Malgoras and resources. Damage-wise, it does get, a fair bit of extra damage, and Soul Increase just kind of increases the extra damage, so not as good as I was kind of hoping it would be. Her other ability, Snip Snip, 3-turn cooldown, acquires 1 soul, brutally cuts the enemy with a 35 plus an extra 15% chance, so basically a 50% chance, to inflict 4 bleeding effects for 2 turns, deals additional damage when the target isn't buffed. So this is kind of interesting and a little bit, as she could stack a ton of bleeds. 50% chance doesn't sound super good, but 4 chances to hit at 50% chance with a good amount of effectiveness could make her just a really good bleed stacker. However, at 3 turns, it's also just a tiny bit slow, so yeah, not overly excited, and there are a lot of buffs that go around, so I'm not entirely sure of how useful this will be. Anyway, and Slice strikes the enemy with a 35% chance to make them unable to be buffed. Again, this is really nice, but the problem with all of her abilities to me is that given her modifiers, it's a little bit disappointing that these aren't AoE, just because it would be... She doesn't really output a massive amount of damage. She's not anything to really, like, wow or shock you about, but she can put out damage. It's just kind of, you know, given a lot of the characters recently who can just spam buffs all over the field, like Dizzy, it would be nice to see if she could have a AoE to remove your opponents buffing themselves. She would have, you know, an interesting property there, but alright, that is definitely one problem I have with all of her abilities. I wish that, like, all of the abilities would have a little more striking range. Since none of them are overly exceptionally incredible, I have to feel like they need a little push to be a little bit better. Probably more than any is Extinction. While I can understand the idea that they don't want to make an AoE attack that can just literally kill everything on the field and remove all revive from ever being used, as that would make a lot of Moonlight summons feel really bad again, specifically Rule as well as Maid Chloe. I kind of wish all of her abilities were just a little bit better. Nothing here particularly just grabs me and gets me being overly excited. Even her, you know, imprint of critical hit chance, it's nice, but I'm not entirely convinced, given her kit, of how useful she will be. Because when it comes down to it, this Extinction ability is almost useless in PvE, because a lot of bosses are going to be made immune to her, meaning that we can have revive bosses that just don't do it, or that it's useless against, and that's a big problem to me. It really just doesn't have a use outside of PvP. As for her bleed effects, it could definitely be nice when in combination with a character like Dizzy, who I've said Dizzy enough times, we gotta kind of show her off. Where is my Dizzy? There she is. Now I gotta find Lilibet again. Where'd you go? There you are. Because Lilibet and Dizzy could end up maybe just causing a lot of bleed to the enemy and extending it. Baiken would be able to also take advantage of the massive amount of bleeds that Lilibet can potentially put on the character, and then just detonate them. So there is some good team combination here. It's definitely not bad, but I feel like for her to be super recommended for anybody out there, I feel like you really do need some kind of a little bit of improvement, because there just isn't enough here to really recommend for PvE. That's not to say that if you don't build her with a ton of attack or anything like that, that she couldn't still dish out a lot of damage or be very useful. And that kind of brings me to how I would build her. Well, if you're focusing on bleed and keeping the buffs off the enemy, I would probably focus on speed and critical, maybe with a rage set to take advantage of her debuffs that she can put on the opponent, while basically just ignoring her S3. If you were focusing on just her for arena, definitely you want just basically a lot of attack, speed, critical. Effectiveness doesn't really matter, because you're just looking for her to just execute the revive units and for them to not come back. So Lilibet is a character that I like for a fair bit of reasons. Her speed is decent enough. Her stats aren't definitely bad. It's just kind of her modifiers and abilities weren't as good as I thought they would be, and that's a little disappointing. Seriously, if you play FF14, the song's like stuck in your head forever. especially the fa-la-la-la-la part. It's almost Christmas. I mean, in my head. Anyway, so Lilibet is a character that I will potentially, like, really use into the future. Some way, like, I just like her design a whole bit to not really get into potentially finding some way to use her. I like the bleed status effect. I feel it's pretty good, but even her awakenings, just some weird stuff. Barely amount of attack, but also some defense and HP. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether Smilegate, gotta remember not to say Gummy or Alum in these videos, will do any kind of buff to her. I'm not entirely convinced that she needs a buff, but it would be nice for a little bit more of a premium. There's definitely them trying to strike a balance between a character that fills a very specific role that is not going to completely kill a whole bunch of Moonlight summons, because again, that feels really bad, and to the point of a Vildred as well as revive units, they are definitely annoying in Arena, but I don't know. I'd still say that there are bigger problems in Arena than any of the revive units. But with a Vildred also getting buffed recently, might be a good reason to just put a little check on it. Although I'd be really surprised if a Lilibet could kill a perfectly built rule. Anyway, so that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is my first one, so I'm not entirely sure. As you can see, I haven't built Lilibet yet because I'm just not convinced myself which way I want to build her in direction, or even necessarily what in terms of a artifact I would go with, just because on this, it feels like there could be some good stuff. I mean, like Creation and Destruction, her own artifact. I just don't really recommend it because I don't see her S3 being really that important in a lot of situations. And yeah, I just haven't quite figured out. Maybe Hellcutter. Maybe. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.